So that day of rejoicing, how did the family rejoice after that day? Just let me share in the celebration part of all of this, because I done been through too much struggle with you by now. Okay? And your wife had to believe in your ass. Okay? She done did a lot of fucking believing up until this point, and for it to come back to the tune of $59 million, I feel like that belief was worth it. So, I mean, take me through that.
So
Personally,
it was a joyous moment.
Mm-hmm.
However, it was scary in that that's not immediate money. That's number one. Number two, when I said from 2009 to 2010, there's a whole lot of stuff that happened in between that. I kind of just skipped through.
That's called hell. Okay.
Now, here's the most interesting thing. That community I did that network in,
Yeah.
I was able to negotiate and was able to get one of the townhomes to stay in. Going into December of 2009.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent, 6 months at my sister's house, and then I was able to get into one of the townhomes.
Yeah.
So from December 2009 to September 2010, we're staying in one of the townhomes. Well, leading up to September 2010, they had foreclosed on that portion. So we're sitting in limbo at this townhome.
Oh my God.
Now we're talking about a $350,000 townhome.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
We're sitting there rent-free, hoping we don't get kicked out of that while we're submitting this application. So at the time of us getting an announcement in September, we had finally was able to negotiate with the new owners a lease, but we couldn't pay it. So when that came down, I was able to pivot to say, okay, we got the award. I have still that equipment that I had lost, still had that, kept that up. But I was able to then negotiate and get a loan from an investor based off the award in order to be able to mobilize. So going into October, we were able to pay our lease, able to staff up, get an office, and start building from that point. Because I had something that was tangible.
Yeah.
Had already proven that we can handle a lot of stress, and we had the discipline in order to carry it through. And we had a group of brothers that believed in us. So from a excitement standpoint, it was temperament by, you hear a doorbell, is that somebody trying to put us out?
Yeah.
So there was no room to be excited. And I just got you to 2010.
Okay, Antwon, so there's no room to be excited. First of all, you got a government contract, so we know that the government doesn't play.
No.
So what was that like, having to handle $59 million of the government's money?
Okay. So the way I wrote the grant, in order to do it, A2D was too small of an entity. So we were put together through the Minority Business Development Agency, MBDA. Hey, they wanted to provide a team, get a team of minority contractors to come together to go after this funding. So they brought in a company, in which I can't disclose who it is because of some litigation stuff, but they brought in a company, they had a big balance sheet, and they would be the recipient. A2D had the business case, the open access, the e-community, all the guts to implement that. So we were the sub-recipient / general project management contract. I wrote it where A2D would get a $9 million contract out of that, implemented. The grant recipient would be the fiduciary. And then the network itself would go to an authority, municipal authority, which comprised of the 8 counties in Alabama that would become part of the network point. So you had Macon County, Alabama with Tuskegee. You had Lowndes County, Dallas County with Selma, Wilcox, Escambia, Crenshaw, and Greene County. A couple of counties along what we call the Black Belt, Southern Black Belt. So that was the structure. So the recipient would get the grant. We would have a subrecipient and contractor status, and the authority would get subrecipient. And we had a bunch of contractors up under that. So in order to get going, though, and this is why I said the money didn't come, we had to have a cash match, which was $26 million to go with it. So the government gives 80 cents, you got to have the 20 cents.
Yeah.
Now this is post-Madoff, post-recession, and the government had a stipulation where the asset, they take first lien position, which means if you're trying to get a loan, that's out. If you're trying to get equity, well, the asset goes to the authority, which is a governmental body. So I'm having to take a second lien position behind an authority. That's an issue. We had investors who were willing to do it. However, after all the stipulations came to the table, they bowed out. So going into October, the investors that we thought were at play decided, nope, can't do it. So how do I get this project going? Well, one of the stipulations I saw is all of the time in engineering and business development that you put in putting together the grant, you can count that as what they call an in-kind contribution. In addition, if you have any equipment materials that's part of the network, you can count that as contribution. So it was like, okay, I still had all that equipment from Camp Creek.
Yeah.
All the design aspect we did, so I can account that. That attuned to about $750,000 in what we call in-kind.
Yeah.
That allowed us to start drawing down money.
Okay.
While we got investment funding and all that stuff lined up. So that enabled us to go from 2 people to 70 people within a 10-month period, having offices in 2 states.
Okay.
Building a network. So things were off to the races at that point. Until we start going into 2012. And you have the authority and the recipient making a determination that we don't want that A2D there. There's too much money on the table.
Yeah.
They need to go. So that began a level of infighting, and everything just basically imploded. We had to leave. The federal government, of course, was validating and seeing everything, but we couldn't stay in that without having to face extortion, all these other things.
Yeah.
So we wind up leaving and had to turn and sue the recipient. But we were able to leave that grant. Ultimately, the federal government shut it down, but we were able to leave intact with A, all of our intellectual property, B, all the relationships, C, our company, and D, our integrity. Now, understand, going into mid 2012, I had to lay off all of our employees, shut down the office in Alabama, walk away from all that stuff, shut down the office at Camp Creek, sell off stuff on Craigslist, the whole nine, and basically start all over again. But that fortitude, that business case was vetted through going through the grant process. So I had to answer the phone calls of Booz Allen, PricewaterhouseCoopers, who vetted the A2D business case to a point where it eventually became attractive to investors. So although we took a big loss, it put us up in a position to be here today.